Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information. Oh yes, family, beautiful. Give thanks to the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Just reminding you, family, that the astronomy course will officially be launched on the 30th day of April, Sunday, the 30th day of April. We're talking about between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. This will be Education is the Key. It is an open door session, really, an open house session at the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Remember, we will be having basically 3 official launches on that day. We will be launching the international premiere of the short documentary. I'm talking about Anu, the Ancient City, and we will be relaunching the newly updated international homeschool program. And of course, as you just saw a moment ago, our certified Ancient Astronomy course that will be on Sunday, the 30th day of April, 3 p.m. and this will be a Zoom presentation. So you would have to contact us, you would have to email us, visit the website priestisaacinstitute.com so you could get your Zoom link. So you would be there with us live and direct. Bring the full family. It will be a wonderful day, a very exciting day, somewhat of an entertaining day. All you have to do is just get comfortable. Make sure you have your snacks. You're going to be seeing brand new short documentary. We will be highlighting some of the aspects of the homeschool program. Your children will love it, and you will love the aspects of the Ancient Astronomy course that we will be highlighting to you as well. Sunday, the 30th day of April. Contact me and get your Zoom link now. thanks continually for the life giver and the keeper of life. We definitely say blessed love to each and every one. Blessed love, O royal family. Blessed love for those just coming in. Give thanks again for the life giver and the keeper of life, Emperor Haile Selassie I. We give thanks for another wonderful evening. We give thanks for your presence with us. This is a moment now where we are going to be taking this now to a next dimension as it relates to reasoning, as it relates to understanding, as it relates to comprehension. This is your Rasta Roundtable program. Remember, this is a program that comes to you every Thursday evening. It's coming to you at the hour of 8 p.m. I'm talking about Eastern Caribbean time, Eastern Standard Time. And of course, myself, Honorable Priest Isaac. And of course, we definitely a trio here as far as the hosts of this program, talking about the man Ankoma Djed, and of course, Rasta Icern. And as I said, we gather here on Thursday evening, unless there's some situation beyond our control, but usually we are here. And basically that is just to expound and to speak of things with joy and happiness and in an upful meditation. That's what we do here on Rasta Round Table. Again, give thanks to each and everyone in tune, wherever you may be. Of course, in our international audience, wherever you may be, give thanks for your presence. Quite a large selection of countries that are continually with us. So we're thankful for such. We must touch base with those who are right here on the home front as such, those who are right here in the nation of Antigua and Barbuda, and of course in the Caribbean. You don't know how it is. We've been carried beyond so far where we belong. We're talking about those in St. Kitts and those in Trinidad and Tobago, and those in St. Lucia and Grenada, and wherever you may be. We're definitely happy that you are here with us. And of course, we give thanks to our family in the wider international community. We're talking about our brothers and sisters, whether they may be in Africa or well, of course, touching base with the African continent. Let me see what we have here. Brothers in Kenya and Ghana, South Africa for sure, always on board. Give thanks for your presence. London and Germany and Finland and France and well in tune, Switzerland and Sweden in tune to the vibration right here on Radio Annual International Flavor, talking about the universal spice. And of course, you're done to the Western world, always in tune from the fullness of Canada and all over the United States and in South America. Give thanks to those in Colombia, Peru, Belize, Brazil. Give thanks for each and every Guyana, well in tune with us on a wonderful evening. All right, definitely, family, give thanks for your presence with us again. And again, this is Rasta Roundtable, and we are very thankful for your presence with us as we go through. So we have Brother Rasta Icern with us. We have Brother Ankoma Djed with us already in the house. Let me just say, blessed love, Brother Ankoma Djed.
Blessed love, Priest Isaac. He'll up the listening audience, Rastafari.
Yes, give thanks, and you don't know how it is. I hope all is well with you in your side and, in where you are at the moment. I know you're seated in Trinidad. I hope everything is good with you in them parts.
Yeah, man, everything up for land bright in Trinidad,
All right, going good. Rasta Icern in the house as well.
Yes, blessed to all the listeners and them out there still and panelists.
Yeah,
yes, King. One quick thing there, Honorable.
Yes, King.
I'm an of Kwami in the car station right now. Yeah, so you can let in. Yeah, he definitely could be the subject. As I tell you, our co-research and this leg of the research where he kind of go more in depth,
Okay, positive. Well, give thanks to that as well. He was here a moment ago, but he really stepped off. So I expect him to come in again in a few moments. So yes, family, when Kwami come in, we will definitely also introduce him as one of our guest panelists this evening. And we will be definitely continuing, as we spoke, with the reasoning that we had a previous program. We went into certain aspects of the reasoning that came down to a historical level, especially as it relates to the history of Ethiopia. And as I was saying, even to, well, not this audience, to maybe another audience as such, it's one thing, which is really what I gathered from the conversation from the listeners. Many ones have different ideas. So one will tell you, well, listen, man, they don't check for the Ark of the Covenant then, just using that as an example. They don't check for the Ark of the Covenant being in Aksum in St. Mary's Church. And next person will tell you, well, listen, man, Ethiopia have this story about the cross of Christ in Ethiopia, and so I don't really go with all of that. And then there are even those that will tell you they downrightly deny the Solomonic dynasty. But then, even amongst ones that think like that, that still of a conscious realms, when you come and you tell them, well, listen, Ethiopia itself, the history of Ethiopia, as you know it, especially prior to Emperor Theodore II, is not the Ethiopian history that they are giving you. Most ones, even the open-minded ones, would want to know what you're talking about. They would want at least a better explanation, at least so they can comprehend where you're bringing that discussion. So that is where we wanted to continue this evening. As Icern said, we have Ras Kwami. Brother Kwami, give thanks for being in the house as well, my lord.
Yes, I respect. Give thanks.
How's the mic sounding there? Give me a
You can hear
little.
me?
Oh, you're sounding good now. Positive.
Yes, I. Yes, I.
Well, welcome to the house of priest. Welcome to the gathering of the Rastafari around the table.
Yes, I.
They're showing me something there. Yes, I. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to make Ras Icern begin this evening proceeding, my lord. And you might even bring in Ras Kwami. As you said, you don't know this subject here is really in your corner. So I'm just going to open the floor to the eye and humble myself here, as the eye would take it. Blessed love.
Blessed love, Rastafari, Selassie I live. Yes, the man, taking it from where you cut off there, when you mentioned about what happened prior to Theodore.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to just make a little reference in connection to that time period.
I remember, I only do that through the item reference, right? Not to say I pick it.
I know.
Oh, okay, true.
I know. But when I reasoned that just a while ago, it does a passage in the Kebra-Negas.
Okay, true.
Just came to my mind the same time, which gives some indication as to what Ethiopia was doing, perhaps during those time periods. You understand?
Yes.
Because one of the things that we do not get about Ethiopian history, if we just go with the traditional position that Ethiopia hold right now, where history is concerned, if we go by that alone, we will get no account of the period when Ethiopia used to sun worship, like Egypt and all those places. Because there's really not a lot of information about what was going on with Ethiopia during that time period. They talk about during that time period where they were creating pyramids, not on the large scale like we're down in Egypt, but they were actually creating smaller pyramids, almost like them in a practice, the art of making the pyramids. and you find them pyramids from Ethiopia to Sudan go all the way down to Egypt. Now, that period when these people were doing these things, we do not really have no history about that, you know. You check when you go look up Ethiopia history now, you know, hear no kind of reference made to the time period when they were sun worshipping before Solomon come in 957 BC. Now that interesting thing to note.
Yes.
Because that's telling you that something clearly is missing. Something clearly is missing. You see it? But for go back to this, the fundamental point that I am been trying to make is not so much of a dispute what the Ethiopians say.
Yes.
When me and Lazar have this conversation before, you understand? And, you know, he stuck to his point same way that he will go with what the Ethiopians say and so forth. And I've been always just trying to help you to appreciate how these things start from inception, how everything built from the ground up. You understand? I mean, for example, we born in a time when the concept of God was already personified. So we come and hear about one man that scripture described to be God in flesh, come down in the earth among man. So where the subject of God is concerned, with most of us, we start out with the idea of God as a man. You understand? So if you were uproot and now tell man, well, listen, there was a time period when we did not have that concept among the human race of God being a man. That will come very strange to any individual. Hear this. I mean, it just totally out them paradigm. It's very difficult now for them find them footing as, you know, what they gonna make out of life, given this fundamental belief that they hold it is not really so. That this thing is not factual. But the earliest representation of history that we have is really like working formulas, or like working theory. Like, for example, we cannot break down numbers to a final stage. In other words, okay, between 0 and an inch, we can account for every measure between 0 and 1 inch, you know.
Yes.
You see, because the more, as I said, the more you split one atom, you just split, you know, you can't come down to a final point.
For sure.
So we really cannot account for every fraction of time, length, I should say, between 0 and 1 inch. But yet still now have rule that shows
You there, my brethren? Like I hearing him. Maybe someone listening to the radio. But Rasta Icern has stepped out there a moment. Kwami.
Yes, I.
Yeah, Rasta Icern had a little issue there. I don't know if I put you on the spot to see if you could furnish up what he was saying there or continue or at least help him out till he
not to really furnish up or even continue what he was saying. I just want to look at the whole aspect of the kings in Ethiopia and what it is when we say Ethiopia. What are we talking about?
Right.
Now, for me, when it comes to this whole Solomonic dynasty and the actual bringing together of a country that we now see as Ethiopia today, with all of the sovereign borderlines, all of the geography that applies to it today, I even see that this nation, you know, was pulled together just around the time the time period of Theodore II. Now, of course, you'll have other chieftains and kings and so on in other areas before, but when you talk about a central government, I think I spoke briefly on this the time we had a discussion behind God, that when we talk about a central government in Ethiopia, that only started...
That's an echo on your part. Okay, like it cut down. Sorry, pardon me.
Yeah, so when we speak of a central government in Ethiopia, this only started around the time period that Emperor Theodore took the throne. You see, so before that, when you talk about when history referred to Ethiopia, the king of Ethiopia, and so on, I don't think it's necessarily pointing at a central, the central government that held power throughout the whole land. It was various different parts of Ethiopia, Gondar, Tigris, or wherever, that they probably would have been talking about. Also the whole thing about the introduction of Christianity into Ethiopia is another thing too that we have to look at, because there are a few different approaches to this information. We have one that was given to us in the Bible. I think Ankoma, Djed, and Icern made mention of it a few programs back, where Philip baptized the Ethiopian official. We also have another one where this what was his name again, that went into Ethiopia and he was a slave. Him and his brother, they was a slave. Fermentus, and as a result, the Ethiopian nation and king, they became Christians, and you have certain little ramblings about the Prester John issue and so on, that that there was a king in Ethiopia and so on before these modern times. But what I would like us to explore is the introduction of Christianity that got there around 1829, and that got there via the Church Mission Society. See?
Okay, before you go too far, and I interrupted your speech, I just want my audience to get it clear. Because, so just for those who may be, so Theodore II.
Yes, sir.
I think is about 1850, 1855, somewhere around there.
He took the throne in 1855.
55, okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Now, Ethiopia is seen as the ancient Christian country, but you're telling me just a few years before Theodore.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Christianity came to Ethiopia. I just want to be clear with what you say. Yes, continue.
Yeah, 1829. So he probably was about 11 when Samuel Gobat, went into Ethiopia. And but you have to remember also, we have to take into consideration also James Bruce's mission to Ethiopia and what that really meant also.
Yeah,
I'm going to say what that really meant is that he was the one that actually, went into Ethiopia and brought back some solid features of Ethiopia where ones after that could have, look at his trail and go into Ethiopia. He draw maps of the place, he outlined the terrain and so on and so forth. And so we have to look within that time. I think he went over there around 1769, 1770, around that time. But back to 1829, when the Church Mission Society went over there and go back over there, you find that their mission statement in Africa and around the world was to more or less convert or bring Christianity to pagans and people who have not heard of the gospel of Christ. and they embarked on this mission. Gobart went over there in 1828, 1829, stayed there for about maybe 9-10 years, was replaced by Kraft, L.C. Kraft, and C.W. Eisenberg. Now, these people are very key to the whole introduction of Christianity. Why? Because they were linguists. They went over there, they learned the language, and having learned the language now, what they did was to go back and write the Bible, the New Testament, into Amharic and I think the Tigrian language, and went back over there and start teaching the Ethiopians about it. See? So this is very key. And we're talking about after 1838, 1839, 1840s, in the 40s and 50s, up until the time when Gassa took the throne, Theodore took the throne, see? So, but when you look at his period, his time period, this was the time when we start seeing a pulling together, or we start seeing essential authority in what we know Ethiopia to be today as a sovereign nation. We start see all of the kingdoms united under him. See? So yeah.
Okay, before anyone is coming there, let me just ask. So is it just because I know ones would hear this and for sure, as was said earlier, it don't sound like the regular line. I know there was a period, help me out with the name of the period, where it was called like it was like a judges kind of era.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Petty kings and chiefs and so on rise up and everybody, yeah.
Okay.
The
yeah, you was gonna ask Ankoma. Give me the name again.
I think it's something Mesafent says is the age of princes or something.
Age of princes. Right. You're saying Kwami that was that was just before the period. That was just before Theodore period too. Ankoma.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
just before. Okay.
Well, I want to make a couple of commentaries on what Kwami is laying out here. You know.
You can comment. Go ahead. Let me just make a comment.
Yeah, well, from what understanding, from what blessed of Raskwami and heal up respect. What saying from what I hear you saying there is really about the trappings of a modern nation is what you're talking about with Theodore and these people and the church missionaries that come in. I believe their brand of Christianity that's coming in was Protestantism, you understand? And they come in and was trying to teach and open, same thing missionaries do, open schools and little hospital and thing like that, and try to come in with the agendas and whatnot. But what not really squaring it, what you're saying that it might be Western Christianity they were trying to bring in at such period of 1800s, right? But it have archaeology, like we say, the rock churches in Lalibela and many other churches of old and that attesting to the anciency of Christianity in Ethiopia now. From what I understand, the historical origin of Christianity in Ethiopia is in the conversion of King Izana, because King Izana used to issue coins. I do a program with Priest Isaac already about the coins and the chronology of the kings and how they could track it because of the coins what they used to issue for trade and whatnot. But on Izana coins, he used to have what is called the motto, and he used to have the sun disk and the sun disk and moon representing Astarte and certain other deities what they used to have reverence for and thing in Aksum. And then his coins end up changing and having the Christian motto and the sign of the cross and certain things like that. You know what I mean? So what you say in there with the introduction of Christianity, it is true, but is when certain Western church missionaries try to go in and do field work and thing and go amongst certain far tribes and convert and whatnot. But I wouldn't discredit I wouldn't discount the historical reality that it have ancient Christianity coming into Ethiopia in about the 4th century, around 325, did they say? About 325, yeah.
Yeah. What I would like to say in just in response to that, in terms of building upon that, responding to that, I look at the history also of the Bible, of the theology of the Bible, of the building of the Bible. And one of the things that stood out to me is that a lot of us, like I said, I've reasoned this with Priest Isaac before. Priest Isaac, I've heard me say these things concerning the New Testament especially. Meanwhile, Ethiopia will have its history with Christianity. And we know Christianity is about the Christ. Eh? So meanwhile, Ethiopia will have these linked to Christianity for hundreds of years. I'm looking at the history that talk about the formulation of the New Testament, and not only the formulation of the New Testament, but the writing of the New Testament. And
even inside the New Testament scriptures, I read and know that they have the New Testament scriptures in Ethiopia in ancient Situna. So even when they say these linguists come in and they learn the glyphs of the Fidela Ethiopian script, and then they went and write over New Bible and things, all these things is probably historical facts, but it's not like to say that this is the first time that the New Testament have ever been rendered in these glyphs. Now it just come like it was part of their agenda to proliferate the New Testament scriptures in the Ethiopic writing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to speak to is the actual first time that we received the New Testament, that the New Testament was authored. That's where I'm going now. Right. What I say.
Yeah, man.
But what I see that the New Testament first come to light, first was made manifest, was written during the early 16th century. Like I say, 15th century, yeah.
Like I say, just quickly, King, that's the New Testament in general or Ethiopian New Testament?
No, the New Testament in general, because it's one formula now. When you look at the formula from Matthew from Matthew onwards, the New Testament. You're seeing that formula, Gospels, as you know it, was a 15th century was a 15th century document. Sorry. We know that when we follow history, we know that around the turn of the 16th century, they had a rival with Christianity versus Judaism. And one of the things that made Judaism was very attractive to the people at that time, especially the people in Europe. We're talking about the time of the Renaissance period. And one of the things that made Judaism so attractive was the fact that they had already established a doctrine and around their objectives and so on. They had already established these doctrine. They had already printed these doctrine. One of the first books that was printed by Gutenberg's press was the Torah.
Okay, Torah.
Was I think it was in 1499 or something like that, 1475 or something like that. This was the first book that was printed. And at that time, Christianity, as we know, it did not have the New Testament as yet. You see, They didn't have the New Testament. So it's not until Desiderius Erasmus was appointed by the Pope to write something in the way concerning the object of Christianity that we find a Matthew, Mark, a Luke, Ephesians, Galatians, the Corinthians, Paul letters and so on come into being for the first time. So
manuscript, actually.
What I'm trying to connect this to in relation to Ethiopia's long history. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at the history of Ethiopia and the books and so on that they laid out and the books that they present to us, they're having the same formulation that would go all the way, that those books that they say would go all the way back to the first century or the second century BC. Mm-hmm. I mean AC, when it was in the turn of that 15th century that this formula was introduced by way of Desiderius Erasmus. So when you ponder these things and you look at the various histories that is attached to them, you have to take a little thing back and wonder, okay, why is this saying this and why is this saying that? And
Can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. One of the things that I learned, right, in the process of the research is that they have two fundamental categories to history, right? You have traditional history and then you have actual history. Mm-hmm. Traditional history seems to be based on legends and other things like that and mythologies. And then you have the time period now where the discipline itself of history start taking shape as things come forward, particularly in the Western or modern world. You understand? Because you have to study the progression.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com for more information.
In the Western and modern world. You understand? Because you have to study the progression of history in this modern world to really understand a lot of what was going on. When Desiderius Erasmus was commissioned, right, to redo Jerome's work, because they were saying Jerome is the one that they attribute the Vulgate to, right? And they gave Desiderius Erasmus this assignment because they thought that Jerome's work had some errors in it. He had some shortcomings to it. As a matter of fact, Johannes Reuchlin, who is one of the authors or compilers for what we know to be the Old Testament, he actually called down Jerome's work as foolishness.
Saint Jerome is talking, right?
Yeah, the Saint Jerome that them attribute the writing of the Vulgate Bible to.
Not right.
Johannes Reuchlin, who is the one that's responsible for Christianity, embracing the theory of Judaism. He said Jerome's work was foolishness. I mean, may paraphrase here, but he called on Jerome's work like stupidness. You have to watch them like a statement when you read your history, because when you have an idea that the Vulgate that Jerome wrote was the same set of book that we know in today modern Bible, but maybe in some other language, it really mess with your whole perception of what is really going on. But when you hear Reuchlin would make reference to Jerome's work in a them derogatory term, you know that the work could not have been what we know the Bible to be today. Because he, Reuchlin, is responsible. The same book that I referenced a couple of times, the campaign for destroy the Jewish books and them. At that campaign, they decided on whether Christianity embraced Judaism or not. And Reuchlin won out the argument against Johannes Prefakhan. Prefakhan was advocating against the Jewish writing. And the whole thing go into a whole court matter, and Reuchlin is the one that won out and caused Christianity to start embrace the theories of Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So if Reuchlin can refer to Jerome's work in a them kind of derogatory term, may paraphrase it because I had a book before you. You understand? But if he can do that, then that is telling you something about what Jerome would have advanced. What these guys were actually doing, they were advancing theosophical thoughts, theories. This is what they're putting. The term Bible are a very deceptive term, because in modern day, when we use the term Bible, we think about this book from Genesis to Revelation. But the term Bible is really just a simple term to say, well, a book of authority and a certain subject.
Mm.
The Bible happens to be a book that it speaks about God. Mm-hmm. And so the Bible really is an authoritative book on that subject of God. You understand? So when you read back into history and you hear about Vulgate Bible and this Bible and that Bible, now think to yourself that it is another language, another book with a few other books added to what we know to be Bible today. Any sacred writing and the subject used to be considered to be biblical. This book that we know to be a Bible down here right now in the West, that is a legal document. That's where they then go and them vote on these specific set of scriptures to be considered the word of God.
Canonized. Yeah.
Canonized, right, that's the term. You understand? So we have to get a real picture. This doesn't really discredit the value. No, more to emphasize this point. Everything that we say here, it doesn't take away the value that these profound words in scripture really have on the human being. You understand? Just that I'll have to separate fact from fiction, because it has something to do with how we grow spiritually.
Right.
If you can be holding on to religious thoughts which are really limited to spiritual thoughts, then you cannot evolve spiritually. You block yourself off from that because you just cannot outgrow religious thinking. It's very important. And the whole idea of believing things, certain things and so on, are part of that religious thinking. I like when you that just no want to believe that Mickey Mouse not real. You
If
see
I can come in there, my lord. Give thanks again. If I can just put on the table, okay, well, Raskwami was saying, he looking at it more from, he highlight the New Testament. Okay, we checking the Ethiopian part of it now.
Okay.
I know we get strong into the Bible too at the moment, and
it's all good because interrelated, you know.
Interrelated, and even your points I fully get. But what I'm saying now, is the Bible is still on, especially the New Testament, because that's the level Raskwami was bringing it from. Because I try to, make sure even everyone listening, get a good balance with an understanding. There's some background. Everything okay? A good understanding. All right. So the Ethiopian history again, my good brethren. We're looking at the Ethiopian history and how it sits with the mind frame of the people. Brother Ankoma Djed, pardon me, he dropped out there, he's back in. Brother Ankoma Djed was mentioned, Brother Ankoma Djed was bringing down some points where he was highlighting like the King Izana and the coins and these things. For sure, Ethiopia is known. I don't think nobody can deny this now. Ethiopia is known for its ancient history, and Ethiopia is also known for its legends. And even the history does have a blend of legend in it. I know that for sure because I can give you some stories that you can't tell me that this is not. I don't want to get too passionate about it, especially coming out of the church. But hear this now. So as far as the Old Testament, and this many might consider that I'm going into legend here, but I'm just trying to make a point. Now, the Old Testament, outside of even Ethiopia, you have other quote-unquote historical accounts of the New Testament part of it, the New Testament prior to the date that was given here a moment ago, around the 1600s. Now, in Ethiopia, most of the time when you seek out the oldest quote-unquote Bible or biblical manuscript, they usually point to an Ethiopian version of the same New Testament. Not even the complete Bible, but there is a specific Ethiopian New Testament, which has even the Gospel, I think, of Mary. And just saying New Testament may not be the right phrase, because as you said earlier, just to say Bible, and so sometimes you have to care for how we say it. But it has a collection of books, let me put it that way, that is associated with what we consider the New Testament and even other extra books. Now, this, according to the story, which could either go historical or legend, they consider the incredible Garima. He was a monk that they said arrived in Ethiopia. He's either from Syria or somewhere like that in about 490 something AD. And they say he was the one that translated now, not write it, he translated from something else, translated the Ethiopian New Testament from another New Testament. Now, the story
what
says...
language was the other testament?
I can't tell you that.
It was a Syriac, is it the Syriatic language?
I just put in the story on the
Syriatic
table.
books?
For the moment, I just put in the story on the table as basic as I can bring it. Just as basic. Now, the story says, okay, here I talking it, the story says that when the sun was going down, he didn't complete the gospel of Mary. So he prayed and he asked the Most High to stop the sun. And the sun stopped. And he gave Garima enough time to seal up the gospel of Mary. The story even go on to say that he prayed again. I guess if he didn't pray, the sun wouldn't move again. But he went and prayed and said, well, yeah, I done. And the sun went on. Now, here now, I'm going to pass on the mic. What is interesting now is that when you go to Ethiopia, the man showing you the book. Literally, and you would admit that the book looked like it have some serious age on it. So this is what I'm saying. Is that story pure legend? Is it history? Or is it history mixed with a bit of legend? So because from that time now, according to Ethiopia, you have the presence of a New Testament. And before I pass it on, outside of Ethiopia too, and I just putting all this on the table, so because it's a scholarly conversation we're having, and I actually appreciate this conversation, so I wanted to kind of stay on a certain level there, especially for the scholarly mind. So you have one of them Kodaks, I think is the Kodaks, what name again? Sinaticus. I think it's Codex Sinaticus. Sinaticus, right. They say that is about 1600 years old. And that is one of the most complete Bibles they have of both Old and New Testament. What language is written in King? Well, I'm not too sure if that was Syriac or what. But anyway, that is said to be Greek. Greek, okay. Positive, yeah. Sinaticus, of course. And that is not, let's just say, Ethiopian. So I'm just highlighting these things just to add to the conversation. I just put in things in the pot, because to be honest, I really full time this discussion. You have my chalice in my hand, and I just listening on to the information. I love them kind of reasoning here, really. So don't take it like even a challenge. Just putting it on the table. And before passing down, let me bring His Majesty in the midst of this too. Because still, I always find it interesting when that brother man asked His Majesty about Christianity in Ethiopia. And he didn't ask him. He made the statement referring to that, that historical time frame, that history confirms Christianity came to Ethiopia. And His Majesty referred to the Bible story. I always found that interesting, but I will leave the floor free.
Because that's the tradition.
Anyone to continue the discussion. Yes, go to it.
Como.
Yes, Rastafari.
Yeah, well, I man, me yield to the eye for make some input, seeing that the man been drop out for a while. So you can, you can pick up from there.
Well, you see, when I drop out, I didn't really hear what the IM was really talking about,
But you still have plenty to say, man.
But all right, well, what I like to deal with the root of ideas now.
Okay.
So, as far as understanding from things what I heard and things coming out, some of these tellings of history is coming out of the narrative of Walter Williams' historical origins of Christianity. If I correct, Ras Kwami and Ras Icern.
Yes,
yes.
Right. So the veracity, we have to get into Walter Williams' text now and see how right and accurate his text is, you understand? Because Walter Williams is a blessed elder, but he's a man, he kind of stubborn on certain points and thing, even some of his points have been refuted and whatnot.
Yeah, very much so. In all honesty, the all he get to, with all respect to the God.
Yes, So I understand enough of what we say with the print and press thing and the first they was able to proliferate the Bible through the invention of the print and press in Europe and all these kind of thing, you know. But what the implications of the thing what the item saying here right now is that you come like invalidating the existence of New Testament writings prior to 1600, which is a very quite alarming kind of position to hold. You know what I mean? Because
why?
Because they have in various museums and different things, manuscript texts and codexes and things, what have these things written down from early times now. You know what I'm saying? So
the same New Testament that we know today.
Well, it might be the exact same order and whatnot, but basically the collection of writings and whatnot, these things are tested in anciency and in history then, you know what I mean? So unless we're going to say that all these things is fraudulent things when they find all the codexes and them things is fraudulent things where they and then they dig it up and look at it, you understand? So that is what going on in this reasoning here right now. It come like if you understand what I'm saying.
Come, Joe.
No, but these things that Walter highlight about Erasmus, as I tell you now, what attracted me to Walter approach, let me just say this, let me just put it on the table, right, is that Walter deal with approach to history to be investigative in his mindset. So he will ask certain type of questions and so on, and when these questions are put forward now, he does show you certain hole in what we know to be traditional history. I mean, it only makes sense if except that from man very beginning, that man start to deal with language. That man have this grand idea about recording events and who born from who and do things like this. Except from that, anything that we know, the earliest works that we know going back would most likely be mythology. Historians, you have historians, I read from a book there, A Short History of Mythology, with Karen Armstrong. She's a theologian as well too. And she's telling you, because we wanted to know where we come from and certain things, where we're going to go after we die and things like that, we create mythology. Everybody wants to know who then descend from and everything, but a lot of these things get lost in prehistory before we start write and create things. So in order for lay the psychological foundation, because if you have a psychological foundation, you have an inner world. So in order for lay that psychological foundation to establish a worldview, wise men of the past create these mythology. The modern world so stuck up on what is fact and what is not, that we cannot appreciate the fact that it is not fact, but yet valuable. You see, we can't reach to that now because everything now, once you dispute whether it actually be so or not, as far as we're concerned, then in no value no more.
Okay, I like that. But hear this now. Hear this. This is just my quick opinion because we really listen here. You see, like the story I just give with Garima. Okay. Now with him literally stopping the sun, me no believe that. But I'm not gonna go into the depths now. But I know the value of that story. But you go ahead.
Okay. That's all we really need out of it, you know.
Right.
To really program this thing in the human being now, you have to teach them story there because the intellect which are the part that are beginning in a time and space, have to process these things. You see, that part of our being have to process these things. The impersonal part of our being, the part that connect our back to source, back to God. The part they don't need them coaching because you don't know what the truth is. As a matter of fact, at that deeper knowing just help inform the intellect, the consciousness of the human being who are beginning, the persona that are beginning in time and space. So this one can have this father and son relationship right in the human being between the spirit and the body. Because the body now become the son or the daughter. And the spirit that is of ancient, the whole storehouse of all the wisdom and all the knowledge. That part they play the role of the father in informing the human consciousness so that he can order himself.
But Rasta, I said, if I can say that, I'm going to tell you what it is. And I would mind to hear from Kwami. You see what it is, right? Many ones that even listening, even like I'm going to believe Ankoma Djed. Remember remember we're historians too. And especially, as I said, this is a real proper discussion. So one still, even especially through the idea, remember a lot of what I saying is still new to a lot of I. So
true.
Level of processing. Now, what I'm saying, okay, let's look at this. The brethren mentioned Lalibela. Ethiopia have a history. Let's go further back. Ankoma help me again. I just like to lean to the king. I know the king does be into certain. They had a kingdom name. It's more spelled DMT, but I think it's pronounced Diamit around Middle and then places there. And this is like a book. Say it again.
Diamat. But the DMT you're talking about the ancient state of
Ethiopia. Right. And they have certain writings that speak of ancient Aksumite kings, even before Izana. You hear about what the king is, Zoskalis.
Zoskalis and Daramat and things.
Right. So as scholars then, as scholars, you know, there is no armor, no posing suit. We have me anyway. I'm trying to gather. So like this history, how am I supposed to take that? Remember, man is teachers too, you know. Was this history a part of the legend made up? You know, because remember when we started this conversation, we were talking about some pyramids to us, kind of looking to hear us get back to that too, to see, okay, is the obviously Ethiopia have a rich history. We all can see that. But are we saying that the history that came to us, let's say prior to is something legendary? This is what I'm trying to get personally, and I know many ones, trying to balance it out, want to get that. That's why I mentioned ancient history that we consider, because I see that as ancient history. So am I mistaken now? Was that something added in to the fray? The story of Physalis in Gondar, who ran out the Jesuits, is that legend or where did that fit in? Because that's a couple hundred years before Djed was.
Me there with all the brethren.
Yeah, that's where we, good vibes, I like it. It's just Rasta around here.
But let me add something.
Well, one thing to them thing there. Them thing is archaeology. It a Ethiopian legend and then it a real history, and they just converge to a degree.
I definitely believe that for sure.
Right. So it have archaeology and inscriptions and outside attestations of certain rulers and things gathered at, and these people who was in contact with through the Port of Adulis with the Greeks and other different nations and things, you know what I mean? So these people really exist, but the Solomonic tradition is something what developed later in the history of Ethiopia, and it antedated itself onto the history of the kingdom. Then it come like and there's use a word called hagiography. It come like a kind of, as we say, basic foundation in a kind of divinity kind of legacy, you know. But the Christianity now come into Ethiopia 325, right, with the conversion of Izana for various reasons and whatnot. And then before that, it would have going.
Sorry. You keep going. Sorry.
I was just saying that before that, they would have ones with certain Judaic faith and whatnot, but it wasn't. It would exist inside of the realms, but it wasn't the state religion. You understand? The state religion or the people in the court used to be worshiping the pantheon from were related to the gods in South Arabia. You know what I mean? Different ones, Beher, the water god, Astar, Meram, which is Aries and thing. You know what I mean? So that's what it's saying. So it's not like, so it have different aspects and they come in. So the Judaic Solomonic tradition really developed in like 1200 somewhere there. You know what I mean? With I think the Zagwe and the Zagwe dynasty coming with that kind of tradition. But it had Aksumite kings before that who was following a Christian tradition kind of like, you know.
Yeah, I would like to just put in something real quick before I say
take your time. We got to wrap up about 25 past 9, but we go.
Okay. So Christianity entered Ethiopia around 3-something with Prometheus and Exana and so on, right? What about His Majesty's account of Christianity entering Ethiopia when Philip baptized the Ethiopian official? I would think that would fall somewhere within the 1st century.
Well, right, but remember now, this is something where last program I was saying we need to kind of look into this in a serious way because that's the 1st century, right? But the Ethiopia, what known as Ethiopia to the Greeks and to the writers and thing in the 1st century would it be rightly, correctly more Sudan and Nubia, right? Below the first cataract of Egypt. So and then when you really check the writing in the Bible, they're talking about the man the eunuch was an emissary, the finance minister, Queen Candace. But Candace is not a personal name. Candace is an imperial title from Nubia.
We understand that. But keeping in mind, His Majesty was speaking those words in reference to that political Ethiopia that we are now.
All right. So this is what I'm saying. So we have to follow history. So back in the 1st century, the Ethiopia they're talking about was in Sudan, right? But then remember now, Izana herself end up take over all Meru and all the geography and political empire of Meru, which is rightfully Ethiopia and Nubia. And then he started to say that he is the king of Ethiopia in his inscriptions and these kind of things, you know what I mean? So it's really Izana who take up the title Ethiopia for the physical location realms, which is where we know as modern Ethiopia now, where it kind of, because his realm extended into the ancient Ethiopia up to the first cataract at a certain point in time. When he take over Meru, it come like Aksum was controlling the rightful so-called Ethiopia in Sudan and all them places in Nubia. That's from what I see from my studies, you know.
True, respect.
Yeah, why you know the Ankoma?
Yes, I.
Each time that you speak and you speak of Ethiopian that way, you know the picture that I see in my mind, the geography of today.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So what would the geography have been in those times that you're referring to? Because this is part of the trick in a history kind of way now, because a word is going to be used like that, and based on your present understanding of things, you will project that back into anciency automatically. And I like you even do that by intention.
True.
And it just seemed to be just the way the psyche would work. So see, when we read these historic accounts, we see in the same Ethiopia today, but just in a long distance before. So when we talk about King Candace and his son, and so how we imagine one central power, just like in His Majesty time, and control the whole border, Ethiopia and things like that. Me don't think that Africa don't be like that at all. When you consider, and let me just drop this last point, and then you can take it. When you consider this geography for Ethiopia that we know today have 72 different language.
Wow. Hey, the king.
Well, he's supposed to still be there. But what I'm saying is, right, the expanse and the physical size of the kingdom of the Aksumite Empire, it used to expand and contract within different time frames and eras, you know. From about 100 AD, under them same I believe it's Gadarat. The man that was crossing across into Yemen and having possessions and land and thing over in them parts. They used to go up, come down. So what I'm saying is, when Izana took over Meru, it come like the expanse of the kingdom, the Aksumite Empire, and up to the first cataract by Egypt. You understand? At that point in history now. Later in history, around the time of Emperor Caleb, he ended up invade Arabia itself due to a certain fight in a war with a Jewish king named Yosef Dunuwasna. And they had a religious kind of conflict between Christianity and Judaism in Arabia in the 500, in the 6th century around there, so the 500s, right? And basically, when Ethiopia did win, they ended up winning that conflict. And Abraham, them kind of man, used to control the whole of Arabia. When I pull it up on the map and think, they try to think it like if it was just South Arabia. It's not just South Arabia. All up in Central Arabia and up in the higher parts, so was the northern thing, was under the Ethiopian Aksumite Empire at that point in history now. And it lasts for about 70 years until the Persians come and invade and whatnot and thing. You know what I mean? During that point in time there, when Ethiopia used to control Arabia, is where a lot of these certain monotheistic doctrines and certain doctrines and thing was prevalent because of that. And they end up, a lot of the Muslim tradition is taken up aspects of Ethiopian Christianity. You know.
But let me just come in there. I can agree with what you're saying with the Ethiopian. Not only when you read it in the Bible, it's not necessarily Ethiopia today, but from my perspective, from how I pick it up, there's certain times when it's seen prophetically and certain times it's seen, I guess, underground historically. And as you said, over time, the borders of this quote-unquote Ethiopia would have kind of changed and morphed into the Kush and all of this thing. But with what Kwami was saying, though, in the sense of putting to the emperor now, when Christianity come to Ethiopia, in the wisdom of the emperor, I mean, I myself check it out, even if I was to say, well, but the borders may have been different, etc. The borders were different even before Menelik. Menelik is one of them man that expand the borders. But I believe that the emperor would have answered the question, cognizant that he's dealing with political Ethiopia of today.
Well, right. So what I would say to that precise, Zach, what I would say to that quickly, not to hold up the conversation, is that His Majesty, when he's saying that about Ethiopia and how on the modern day talking about in the scriptural thing, is really because remember now in the King's List, this was part of the conversation to the King's List was Haile Selassie produced and whatnot.
Yeah.
If you watch it, it calling up the names and thing of the people, the rulers and Nubia and thing in his legacy now. That is why he could say something like, yes, he's talking about when they talk about they send the king, they send the eunuch from Candace, and it's saying Israeli Ethiopia. Them same Kandakis and thing inside a Haile Selassie King's List. Amani Rez and Amani is certain names. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's stuff. All right, family. We have to soon kind of wrap it up now. But I want to hear what Kwami was saying though. If he
yes. What I see here, right, is like when I first started, I made sure that I outlined the three major stories, so to speak, saying that speak of the coming of Christianity into Ethiopia. Spoke of the fermenters, which we were just dealing with there. Spoke of what His Majesty spoke of concerning the eunuch and so on, and then I looked at the coming of the CMS and CMJ into Ethiopia. What I really see is that we will really have to look at the three and see, really do some studies about the three different ways and see what really is a sensible approach, because as we're here reasoning about legends and history and myth and so on, we have to really learn, and when I say we have to really learn, I'm including myself too, because we have to really try to sift out what is legend. We might not be able to sift out the subtle legends and so on, but we have to really look at that and try to to come to some understanding.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
What would be the reason why we would need to know definitively what is what? Just curious to understand the thinking behind there. What would be the reason why we specifically need to know what is what?
That's Kwami. I think
that's a really good question. That's a really good question.
Because this is the point that me try to make earlier about how the modern person think about mythology and legends and these things, and how the modern man think about it. For the modern man, if in a factual, if he can't prove yes, he mean go so. As far as he comes in, no value in the thing. The ancient man be more profound in his disposition. He understands that man world essentially is psychologically internal, or what you see from inside about this reality. And so he moved towards ordering that world by implementing these mythological stories and so on, for the reason of the primordial questions that will naturally occur. Modern man now going back here, okay, this was mythology,
right,
and just totally beset by himself by that idea, because everything for he now is based on factual, this literal thing like so. And this thing to me no really need tinkering. Me honestly guided by Ermias, because me really consider he well. I consider he well because he walk around this earth bearing the prestige of coming from the Solomon dynasty. Yet when you ask the question about Prometheus and the early Christianity and things of that nature, he would specifically use the term tradition when agreeing to these stories. In other words, you ask about that, and we say, yes, that's our tradition.
Yeah.
This is the term he used. He now try to argue like some fact of something happened. He's saying this is our tradition. And I'm going to show you why he can do that. And nobody in the world can do anything about it. No nation. Nobody can do nothing about it. Because you see, it is a claim that is being made by embracing that tradition. And in order for you to dispute that, you'd have to be able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt to the contrary of what them say. Now, which man can go back in the history and find the data to do that? Nobody can. So it has to be accepted. That's Ethiopia's tradition. You know, argue with them, you know, tinker with them. You know, try to put facts against it and try to discount it. It is a claim, and if you cannot dispute the claim without a shadow of a doubt, then the claim wins. And that's what it is for every nation on the earth in terms of their traditional history. They make these claims, they develop these history, and they make these claims. And honestly, nobody about a busybody themselves for try to find out, as a matter of fact, whether something goes or not. It will just be that, and the only value that it will have is to give esteem to the people who is of the particular race or the particular nation that these stories support or speak well of. It will do something to them psychologically in terms of giving them esteem and something to be proud of and a standard to reach. Because if you come from great people that do great things, then you would naturally want to think that greatness is in you. And once you believe that, you can manifest that because the Creator gives you all the potentiality of being. So the science work in the human being. You see it? As a man think it. You know what I mean? So we have to, in dealing with the whole idea of mythology and legend, we have to try to approach these things with two minds. We come from modern time and we vibes a certain way. But we have to learn to appreciate that the man in ancient time, he vibes differently. And you cannot impose your way of thinking in the now and what the man of ancient time wrote in the then, which meant something a little bit different for him. So we have to approach it and try to appreciate the ancient mind, our conditions were. And then that will give us a clearer picture. Because, for example, when you talk about Christianity in a 325, why would 325 in the Nicene Conference, for example, there will be theologically querying as to whether the Christ have a human nature or not? If these things mean solid and Christianity mean don't go on, don't establish, everybody don't know who Jesus be, everything done said. Why were them in these polemics to all these ecumenical council meetings arguing about in nature, whether it's one energy or two energy, all kind of different theological proposals they come up with in the Nicene Conference, trying to agree on something firm that they will hold in terms of how you define Christianity and you define the God.
Right.
Why would all this be happening?
Up inside
If
of
this thing is so well established.
The Ethiopian branch of Christianity, what they get, it come out of the Alexandrian Coptic Egypt version and is the monophysite. You understand? They come like they had a side in that same argument so you're talking about with the Christology.
I'm well aware. I'm well aware. So, and that's interesting that you make the point. That's interesting that you make that point.
Because right, so them stick with certain that's the difference with Oriental or Orthodox from normal Orthodox and then the Catholic and then break off and all of that too, you know.
What's the main difference, Ankoma? What's the main difference you see between those two sets though?
Which two sets? Which one?
Between the Orthodox, which Ethiopia is a part of, and the Roman Catholicism in terms of their theology. What's the dividing point that you see?
The main crux of the argument with them is that it's a monophysite, and then the Roman Catholicism is duophysite. And duophysite mean that they're saying that they saying Christ have the nature of God and man, but there is separate natures, and then they brought into one man through the person of Christ. And the monophysite saying how is God and man same time in perfect union. You understand?
Yeah, family, no matter come here, you know. Or time. Yeah. See up that point, and then we have a look for wrap up.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its makeup has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and astrotheology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information.